Okay, we'll start the public forum. Let me get the... Oh, I had to make sure I wasn't Mr. Saleh.
Mr. Kadim is running late.
No. Sometimes a comment, but not. Okay. Our first speaker is Ms. Karen Dayton. Would you like us to bring you a mic?
Okay, I've been asked to read a statement into the record regarding the Short Beach Park CIP funds versus the Bunnell Fieldhouse, and I hate to use the word versus. That should not happen in this town. I would say that the Short Beach Park Commission is not at all happy with the prospect of losing $600,000, given that these monies are earmarked for the replacement of a 30-year-old irrigation system for the entire park, all athletic fields. It is imperative that this transfer of money not happen. Since Hurricane Sandy, the system has gotten worse, forcing the park's ground crew to purchase hundreds of yards of hose to water these fields. Fields used by the kids of this town, fields which have been criticized for not being watered on a regular basis to make them safer. Sprinkler heads and pipes are breaking on a daily basis. Even now, with the weather warming up and the frost line going low, they're breaking again. To be quite frank, the athletic fields will die if we do not do this project now. However, we understand why our monies are being looked at and why our monies want to be taken to be given to the field house. If there is a guarantee of replacing said monies to cover full cost of the irrigation system, then the Short Beach Commission would be willing not to argue against this. We do want to make it clear that this town relies too heavily on robbing Peter to pay Paul, thus ending up with something that I can't say. Our project impacts the kids' quality of life just as much as the Fieldhouse project. The Fieldhouse project has been under scrutiny for how long? We've been looking at the project for Short Beach Park for a couple years now, especially since Sandy. Both are important. Guarantee that this money you're taking will be replaced, and we will consent to this happily. If not, you've got us on record as saying, don't do this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Dayton. Next speaker is Edward Goodrich.
Hello, Council. Edward Goodrich, 2320 Elm Street. Oh, this thing, okay. It was nice to know that I guess there might be a vote on Shakespeare tonight. I guess a lot of people didn't get any warning of this or what, but anyways, I guess that's the way it is. But I just want to let everybody know that this will be the fourth architect that the town would be hiring in its future, in its past. Okay, this is if you vote on this will be the fourth one, but that's okay. I can't wait to get the theater going. I see a lot of my colleagues here tonight with the Shakespeare subcommittee. I think there has been a lot of great things that has been on that committee. Chris Rooney starting the not-for-profit. I think these are great step forwards. I'm going to ask the council, and this is what's been kind of odd for me to be on this, is that in years past, sometimes we've had 8 to 10 proposals to go over, and we did it all at once. And we have this one proposal now that was brought up in the Building Needs Committee. One proposal, okay? And I think that we need a night where people should talk about really this whole thing that's going on. We're going to be spending money. Now, I'm very cautious. We're going to be spending money. We've got to find out what we are going to be liable for when it's our money and what the process is. Okay, that is going to be one of the most important things, and I think there's a lot of other things on this historic tax credit thing that a lot of people don't understand, that I think that we all have to understand on how to get money, and I think that'd be very prudent to get facts down that are out there prior to making a move on this. And I said we could look at it, and that's fine. I know you're shaking your head up there, Beth, because I know you want to get this through, and this is your baby, but I think information sharing and transparency and exactly what we're doing and where we're going. And I want to get there just as much as anybody here, but I think that people ought to hear on what the town is going to spend their money on, what they could actually get back, because it's probably a little more complicated than people think. And I think it's, in one of Shakespeare's greatest sayings is that this thing has made fools of us all. So I think the more information and the more gathering of facts that we get, I think you as a council will make a better decision. I've made a lot of questions in this Building Needs Committee, and okay, they kind of went over. We kind of went through it. But a lot of other things really need to be answered about the finances and about what the town's commitment. And, we're in the embryonic stage where we're just trying to form a not-for-profit. So I think that out of deference, really, and I know people in my district and people that I know, I think that we should have a special meeting just to discuss what we're doing and how we're getting there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker is Ted Van Grijthensen. I'm sure I didn't pronounce it correctly.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank the council for having this subcommittee and giving us the chance to work on this. I hope we've done a good job by this, and I'd like to just first begin by saying I think, along with other members of the committee, and even Ed who got me to believe that maybe this theater could come to life again. I first worked here in 1960 and 61 at the Shakespeare Theater, and then my wife and I moved here in 1983, and I've lived here ever since, longer than I've lived any place in my life, and I've come to love Stratford quite deeply. So what I'm going to say tonight must of necessity be extremely personal, because I come to you as an actor, someone who I'm 82, and I spent about 61 years of my life working in the theater, chiefly in Shakespeare theaters across the country. I've watched this poor old dear flounder for the last 30 years, and I was inclined to agree with John Houseman, who just before he died was asked, what should we do with the theater? And he said, burn it. I could see no future. Well, it was Ed and Matt Catalano who got me to think somewhat differently, and quite recently, this will be the 4th season of the Shakespeare Academy, which the Mighty Quinn Foundation is responsible for. And I can only assure you that it has begun to attract the attention of the theater across the country. That's a very important thing in the life of a theater, is that the theater elsewhere should be aware of this. Ken Tiger, who's also on the committee, asked me recently, when you were here, what was the connection with the community? And I thought for a minute, and I said, well, there wasn't any. We were just a bunch of New York actors who came here, and the audience we played for came from all over the country. We didn't see ourselves as particularly playing to Stratford. And this theater never was grounded in this community, which is the chief reason why it's been so hard to get it back into life again, because we'd need New York to come and put us back to youth. And I happen to feel very deeply and from my heart that Stratford should take hold of this property and turn it into something valuable. Every community in America needs a center for the arts. You cannot have a good, healthy community life without a center for the arts. If Stratford takes this one and takes hold of it and gets it going again, remembering the national footprint that the American Shakespeare Festival has here, you can attract attention from across the country. There's good reason to believe there could be a summer, am I being rung off or something?
It's your fun.
Oh, okay. And I would give almost anything to see this to happen. Now, I hadn't meant to mention Elm Street, but since Ed brought up the matter, I would like to say this. I was here the night that the 3 other firms got together and gave their presentations. Plainly, Elm Street was the best one. It just clearly was the one who knew what they were doing. They didn't get it. It went to David Reed, and that flopped. And at that time, I would have said, yes, go with Elm Street, do it. Since then, I've given much more thought to the matter, and as good as they are, I think we can do better. And when I heard this presentation a couple of weeks ago from Marvel, I was really deeply impressed. They're ready to take on a theater with, as I like to say, a national footprint. They can do something with this theater that I believe Elm Street could not do. Now, I know this is a first step, but God, how long has it taken to get to this first step? I think it's time to do it. As I said, Elm Street, I don't mean to impugn them. They're valuable, they're useful. But I think Marvel could do a better job. And I've about come to the end of this. I feel I have a lot I want to say, but I've about come to the end of it. And this is the personal part. I don't know if I'll live to see this theater coming to life again, but I sure as hell mean to try. And I hope you'll see your way clear to get this going so we can get past this point to get that theater on its feet again and bring this community, which has become increasingly a commuter community, give it a center in the arts. Lay claim to that property, make it yours, and let it come to life. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next speaker is Ken Poisson.
Hi, Ken Poisson, 35 Mapledale Avenue. First of all, I'd like to thank you for donating your time in public service, as I know what it's like to be up there, all of you, and I mean that sincerely. I'm just here to, on behalf of all the people that use the field house at Bunnell, I don't like to call it the Bunnell Field House, I like to call it the Field House at Bunnell because it's used by lots of people in town, and we've gone over all the groups that use it, so I'm just here on behalf of them to please make sure you find the money and please get it fixed because it is about to fall apart. And all the people that use it, that live in all of your districts, would really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Dan Senft.
Good evening, Dan Senft, 235 Old Coach Lane. I first of all want to thank the council members that came to the Building Needs Committee meeting the other day. I really do appreciate, and I know the other members appreciate the comments from the council members that were there. I know we had some issues with Stratford High School and the PLA. I think we've got those resolved, and I think all of you, as well as the people on the subcommittee and also the Building Needs Committee, are doing things in the best interest of this town to help this town move forward. So I really do appreciate your comments and look forward to working with you guys in the future. Last but not least, Bunnell High School. I was a little concerned about that previous comment in regards from robbing one account to take care of another here in this town. I'm a golfer. I understand that we need some help down at Short Beach with the irrigation system. However, Bunnell High School and the field house, we've had this basically out there for the last couple of years now. As far as I knew, 2 years ago, the money was there. What happened to it, who knows? However, you know, based on the conversations that we had last Thursday, I do appreciate the fact that you are now in support of this project, and we can move forward and get the contract signed and get things moving this year. So, again, I appreciate everything you guys do, and thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you very much. Linda Palermo is the next speaker.
Linda Palermo, 46 Fort Place. I say, let's get the Bunnell Fieldhouse up and running. I said this at a council meeting. I'm reiterating it today. The kids need the things that make school move smoother. They need to see unity. Let's get that project going. If you have to sink money into it, look at another kitty and see what you could use to move it over. Shakespeare, same thing. It starts moving forward, then they change their mind, then they come up with something else. Can we please get Shakespeare moving? We need it. I think it'll bring people into the area. It'll bring us revenue. And I say, let's support it. Now with regard to the campground, I read over the paperwork. I think it looks good. I think it's a great idea. There's only one thing I would like to see put here. You're going to have counselors there, and I hope they're going to have badges. You're going to have children there, and I believe those children should have some type of a badge to indicate they are in that camp. So you don't have drifters or people just coming in on the beach and say, oh, I'm with them, and they're not really. So those are my 3 issues, and I say thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Linda. Ms. Palermo. Next speaker is Peter Wood.
Good evening. My name is Peter Wood. I'm at 208 Breakers Lane. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to speak to the Shakespeare Subcommittee's efforts to select an architect. I was surprised to hear my fellow subcommittee member Ed Goodrich have the amount of confusion that he does about the process, as he's been part of every stage of the process so far, including the subcommittee of our subcommittee that went through the selection process of the current architect that has been approved by the Building Needs Committee, and I hope will be before you tonight for a vote. We actually went through the standard town required processes for selecting a professional. We did a request for qualifications. We received responses from a dozen firms. We looked at all of them and narrowed that down to 6 that we were going to interview. One pulled out and chose not to participate, so we interviewed 5 firms. We ranked those firms based on qualifications and experience, and the firm that was far and ahead of all the others is the firm that's being proposed to you tonight, which is Marvel Architects. They have a broad and deep history of experience redeveloping theaters and dealing with historic properties. We've selected them for a very narrow phase of work at this point, which is simply to secure the theater from any further damage from water infiltration and from animals. Specifically, we know raccoons have been nesting in there and have been in and out of the building. This just continues to deteriorate the structure. Mold is increasing because of the water infiltration, and we need to take action now to prevent further deterioration of the theater, which will drive up costs at whatever point we actually can raise the funds to do a full restoration. In regards to tax credits, I'm a developer. I've spent more than 30 years developing mixed income, affordable, and historic properties. Historic tax credits don't come into play in the building securing that's being done in this phase of work. It's a very limited scope. We're having the architect define that scope of work, and our next step will be to bid out that work being done by a contractor. We expect this will not amount to anything close to the amount of money that's already been bonded and set aside for this theater. Far, 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 far less. I should also state that the firm that we selected and are recommending, and the Building Needs Committee is in fact recommending, was not the highest cost of the firms that we in fact interviewed. We found that basically once you take into account the additional services from other professionals, they were pretty much in the middle of the pack, and yet they're far and ahead the most qualified firm we could ever hope to have working with the town on this property. So I strongly endorse moving forward, not putting this off any further, so that we can finally, within this year, see this work being done and the building being saved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Last speaker is Ken Tiger. Or Tiger? Tiger?
Hi, my name is Ken Tiger. I'm at 640 Stratford Avenue. I've been living in the town for 12 years now, and I'm a professional actor. I live across the street from the theater. I've been involved in many of the iterations of trying to get the theater going again, and needless to say, I would very much like that to happen. It's very hard for me to talk after Peter because I believe that what he's saying is absolutely right, and I'm just giving you a little icing on the cake. The committee that has been put together now to work on the theater is doing the most significant work that I've seen being done about the theater in the 12 years that I've been here. I remember sitting many times over at that table with Mayor Myron and talking to him about the theater and what is needed and how you do it, and that the fact that a theater uses a different business model than many other businesses. For example, a theater will fail if you try and think of it like a hardware store. It's not going to work as a money-making institution. We have to have the not-for-profit status. This is the very first time that it's really happening. We've talked about it. I've been on the committees that investigated the work of the national consultant who said we need to have a not-for-profit. People talk about this, but it isn't being done. Finally, after months of work, the subcommittee, the Shakespeare subcommittee, is doing that work, and we're really getting close to getting it done now. And we're working at it very, very carefully. Now, with all due respect to Ed, because he's a member of the committee and he's added a lot of very substantive forward movement, we don't need to wait on this one issue. Because, as Peter said, all we're trying to do is keep the building from falling down. There are animals getting in there, there are teenagers getting in there, and all of this happened because we were trying to find a way to preserve the building so that whoever comes in, whenever they come in, will have a building that's up and ready to go, that we're not going to have to start the construction, from the ground up. And the money that we're going to be using for this is already earmarked for the theater. It can't be used for anything else. So we may as well use the small amount of money to get an idea of how to spend the big amount of money. And that will be a decision down the road. If there are any qualms about spending or what we're going to do with the theater, those decisions can be made while we're getting the building ready to go. And those discussions continue in the subcommittee and will continue in the subcommittee while the theater is being readied. All I believe that we're discussing tonight is whether to approve the architect. And this is a world-class theater architect. This is not somebody who just builds houses. They build major institutional theaters all across this country. And they are eminently qualified. And once they've done their work, we'll know better where we are. And in the meantime, the committee will have had a chance to deal with a lot of the other issues that I know you are interested in, but we'll have to deal with later. First things first, let's get the building safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's all I have, unless anybody signed up on the next sheet. First, are there any did anybody sign up?
On sheet 2.
No.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
That's the ordinance.
No, that's ordinance.
Yeah. Okay. Next speaker is Bob Jeckel.
Bob Jeckel, 175 Twin Oaks Terrace. I've been up here a number of times talking in the public forum for a number of different reasons, and it wasn't until just recently that certain roles that I am proud to hold for the town to try to help push this town forward seem to come in some sort of conflict with each other or something. And the more I thought about it today, the more I realized is it's not really a conflict at all. First and foremost, I will always be the father to 3 sons in my house. And what's important for them is what's important for me to fight for. And that is what I'm here to talk to you tonight. A little later in the night, I'll talk to you about some other stuff. But tonight I'm going to talk to you on behalf of my sons and their teammates that have been watching and waiting. And my son's about to be a senior. He's in the audience with us. He's about to be a senior. He's got 1 season left. And you only get 4 seasons in high school. And it's done. And it's gone like that. These kids deserve a field house they can be proud of. They deserve one that is safe, is healthy, is not causing issues with our, and that's a whole separate issue for the health department to deal with, whether or not it's even things to deal with. 2 months ago, they watched you all say yes, and I'm going to point it out as often as possible. The kids are watching because you started talking about something that's important for the kids, hundreds of them, and they are watching and will want to know why, if we can't get it worked out as adults, what else are we not going to get worked out for them in the future? So let's start with this one, and let's do it. Instead of pitting Short Beach's irrigation system, which is very much in need of repair, serving on the Short Beach Park Commission, I can tell you plenty of stories about how it needs repair. However, we can walk and chew bubblegum. We can fix the field house and give the kids what they deserve, which was approved 10-0 in December. And then when the budget season comes, and you'll probably see me back up here at the podium talking to you about why it's important that the millions of dollars in CIP money that is available every year and probably has been since the dawn of CIP money that gets spent on something. Projects get done in this town, and if we need to fight for the ones that are more important, then I will be here fighting side by side with anybody else that wants to fight to put the money back for Short Beach, to put the irrigation system the way it should be, that for the last 30 years hasn't gotten their CIP money, but that is not because of the Bunnell Fieldhouse. And for anybody that wants to put them together or pit them against each other, it is unfair, it's unnecessary, and really you're saying that certain things for the kids are more important than other things for the kids. Because who's using the athletic fields? Who do we hope to get more down to the golf course? The kids of this town. And you're telling them that your field house is more important, or maybe your irrigation system is more important. It's not fair. It's not fair, and I'm hoping that you all can do the right thing for the kids, get their field house approved, and when it comes time to fight for the priorities at Short Beach, believe me, we will have more conversations. I would be happy to discuss with you the priorities that need to happen at Short Beach, because it is becoming the gem this town deserves. There is a lot of positive things happen at that, and it is not because of the Bunnell Fieldhouse that Short Beach is going to take a step back. I can guarantee you that, or at the very least, I will guarantee you my efforts will be to not allow Short Beach to take a step back because someone making an excuse that they gave the money to a field house that the kids have deserved for decades. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, you can state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Cody Makrana, and I live on 98 Temple Street in Stratford. A while ago, I was here, and I listed my reasons for the field house remodeling, so I'm not going to list them again. Once we got that unanimous vote, there was so much excitement you guys don't even know. Like, I went to school, I had people come up to me like, oh my gosh, we're getting a new field house? Like, that's great. I was like, yeah, it is. Hopefully we get it. And that was a hopefully. It wasn't a, oh, I'm entrusting my town leaders to get me a field house. It was hopefully, because I don't know what you guys are made of. I'm so grateful for you guys, and I'm so grateful for that unanimous vote. It was so exciting. So I really hope that, it comes through. I don't know that much. I'm not a town council member, but I am putting my trust in the town council members, so please don't let me lose that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, there's another speaker. Great.
I'm Jax Blaine. I live on 401 Bridgeview Place, and like Cody, I was here a few months ago for the same reason, to replace this disgusting field house. And I just think that when it first got approved, there was so much excitement and unity in our high school that I feel like to take that back would be very unfair. And yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Maxwell Jeckel. I live on 175 Twin Oaks Terrace. I'm a junior at Bunnell, and many student athletes and I came to one of these public hearings in December last year. We came into it with a goal to persuade you council members that we need a new field house, which was a success as there was unanimous yes. My teammates and I, along with our entire school, were so excited when our principal, Dr. Dowling, stated that construction for a new field house would begin in the summer. However, today I was told by my dad that the funding for the field house was in jeopardy. In December, the motif of our speeches was that we wanted the adults to do the right thing. Now, my teammates and I, on behalf of all student athletes and people who use the field house in the field, want to leave you with one question. What happened? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will be taking a break until 7 p.m. And that's the time that the ordinance starts.